Welcome back to part 3. Hopefully so far everything is more or less clear. What we want to do now is express I haven't worked here for a year. So in the last module, the last video, we were expressing I've been working here for a year. And now we want to turn that on its head and say I haven't worked here for a year. Now there's also another way that we could say this, right? We could say it's been a year since I worked here. You can see where in English we start to get these different options that basically mean the same thing, but the sentence structure is very different. So it starts to get tricky. We have to remember that I haven't worked here for a year is more or less the same as saying it's been a year since I worked here. Now what we do is take our formula where we have hace, time frame, and que, and we just add a no onto the end of it. So we get hace, time frame, que no. Once again, look at these two sentences. I haven't worked here for a year and it's been a year since I worked here. Both of these sentences, even though they're very different in English in the structure, we handle them with just one way in Spanish. So kind of killing two birds with one stone. To express this in Spanish, we would say, hace un año que no trabajo aquí. So literally, it makes 1 year that I don't work here. I haven't worked here for a year, or it's been a year since I worked here in English, goes to it makes a year that I don't work here. Hace un año que no trabajo aquí. The formula is exactly the same as the last video. It's just that we're introducing a no before the present tense. Let's try to compare them. So for example, let's get rid of this no and see what happens. So now we have hace un año que trabajo aquí. It makes 1 year that I work here, meaning I've been working here for a year. But now introducing a no, get hace un año que no trabajo aquí. Now we are expressing it's been a year since I worked here, or I haven't worked here for a year. It might take your brain a little while to process that. You might not get the hang of this the first time through, but I assure you that after a little while, it'll start to sink in, it'll start to click. So we have hace un año que no trabajo aquí. How would you say I haven't worked here for a month? Hace un mes que no trabajo aquí. I haven't worked here for 2 months. Hace 2 meses que no trabajo aquí. To say a long time in Spanish is mucho tiempo, literally a lot of time. So this is how they say a long time, mucho tiempo. Now try to say, I haven't worked here for a long time. Hace mucho tiempo que no trabajo aquí. Now again, you could also say, it's been a long time since I worked here. So you have, I haven't worked here for a long time, or it's been a long time since I worked here. Both of those structures in English are handled one way in Spanish. Hace mucho tiempo que no trabajo aquí. We have hace, time frame, que, and then you just put the no before the present tense. I wonder if you can do this one. I haven't called in a year. Hace un año que no llamo. So it makes 1 year that I don't call. How would you say I haven't called him in a year? Hace un año que no le llamo. The le standing for to him. It makes a year that I don't call to him. Le llamo. Think about this next one. How would you say he hasn't called me in a year? Hace un año que no me llama. So it's all the same, except now we're using llama for the angle of he. So it makes 1 year that he doesn't call me. What about they haven't called me in a year? Hace un año que no me llaman. You haven't called me in a month. Hace un mes que no me llamas. How would you ask that? Why haven't you called me in a month? ¿Por qué hace un mes que no me llamas? Here we have the same formula, but we're just asking a question now, putting por qué in front of it. For example, we have, it makes a month that you don't call me, statement. But we can also introduce a question, why it makes a month that you don't call me. You see how tricky it can get. ¿Por qué hace un mes que no me llamas? How would you say I do it? Lo hago. Now try to say, it's been a long time since I did it. Hace mucho tiempo que no lo hago. If we look at this sentence, once again you see we have been, looks like the past tense, and also did it, again looks like the past tense, but in Spanish it's all expressed in the present tense. You just have to keep remembering that translation. It makes a long time that I don't do it. Hace mucho tiempo que no lo hago. What about, it's been a long time since I worked here? Hace mucho tiempo que no trabajo aquí. It's been a long time since I rented the house. Hace mucho tiempo que no rento la casa. Finally, what about this? We were working with the sentence, it's been a long time since I rented the house. But you could also say, it hasn't been a long time since I rented the house. To do that, it would be, no hace mucho tiempo que rento la casa. Again, break it down in a literal way. So, it doesn't make much time that I rent the house. This is how they express, it hasn't been a long time since I rented the house. They do it in a more basic way. It doesn't make much time that I rent the house. Still in the present tense. And we still have our formula in the center, hace, time frame, que. But we're now introducing a no at the front. This is how we get, it hasn't been a long time since I rented the house. What about this one? It hasn't been a long time since I called her. No hace mucho tiempo que le llamo. Again, you can see we have past tense in English, okay? But in Spanish, they handle it with the present tense because of this structure. So it doesn't make a lot of time that I don't call her.